Greetings, GameCola faithful, and welcome to the GameCola podcast. This is podcast number 186, and the games for the Nintendo Switch 2 are going to receive a lot of licks. I am your host and podcast commander, Joseph Martin, joined by...
Alex Podcast and Jedraszczak.
I'm Blu Ryder, and I'm confused.
And I'm John Rizzi, and I'm just going with the flow at this point.
See, I was going to say...
You never do that. That's wrong.
That the games on
the
Switch 2 are sick, right?
But
they're going to be sick. In the good way.
Sick doesn't rhyme with six.
He's also talking about licking the Switch cartridges because they taste bad.
Has that been confirmed for the Switch 2? They're going to make them taste even grosser?
I didn't say anything about them tasting bad, but everybody licked the Switch 1 cartridges because they were purportedly tasted quite bad. So that means that everyone's going to think they're going to get their Switch 2 cartridges and they're going to be like, I wonder if it's the same. We got to know. We have to know what things taste like. And also it's backwards compatible, so like it can't be that different.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the DS and the Game Boy were backwards compatible, but they were pretty different.
The DS needed a whole nother... The DS also needed a whole nother slot for Game Boy carts.
The Switch 2...
I don't think we have a separate slot.
Is going to have...
2 does not refer to the number of slots.
Nacho-flavored cartridges.
I think it's going to be like a DS, 3DS
I hope they taste
thing.
good. That's the surprise.
You hope it tastes good. That's the major update for the Nintendo Switch 2, is that the cartridges taste better now.
You thought it would taste bad again, but no, we tricked you.
So, when we did the last podcast, I can't remember if we knew how imminent the Switch 2 announcement was going to be. But then it happened pretty quickly after. And so now we're talking about the same thing again. Because we kind of have to. But we have two people who are not on that last podcast who are here to now also give their opinions about the Nintendo Switch 2. And
yes,
they can do that now. They're allowed. It's free for you to do that. It's allowed. It's not a crime.
I don't know any of the real details. I've just seen the pictures and it just looks like, the Switch but for men. Right, like
like for him, for her,
yeah,
like
exactly.
Razors, where they're exactly the same, but one is like
one's
blue
black
and one is pink.
Yeah, well, the one, like, if you ever buy soap, all soap for men comes in a black bottle, right? Like, and that's like the first thought that I had is like, oh yeah, the Switch, the controllers, they're colorful. You can get them in whatever colors you want. The Switch 2, it's black.
Well, I think what they realized is that why go through all the trouble of coloring it when people just cover it up with their fancy decals that they buy off of Instagram Live ads.
Yeah.
Jeddy, of course, intimately familiar with Instagram Live.
Yeah.
I mean, that just screams Alex Jedraszczak.
Yeah. Alex Podcast and Jedraszczak.
John, what did you think about the Nintendo Switch 2?
Well, I'm in a bit of the same boat as Jeddy because all they revealed was how it looked. And baseline, without knowing anything, it looks like a Switch, but slightly bigger. And that's pretty much all they confirmed. There are rumors that the Joy-Cons now have computer mouse support inside, which was evident in the little graphic they did of the Joy-Cons, like sliding onto a thing and then just going across the floor or some surface. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool and very specific to have them do in a revealed trailer. So could be foreshadowing whatnot, and that has me a bit excited because we could see like games like Civilization or Zoo Tycoon or Roller Coaster Tycoon, stuff like that, like more strategy games on the Switch with better controls than what their console counterparts can do. Because I don't think have you ever played Civilization on a console, it's not that fun. Really not that fun, considering it has just a PC interface the whole time.
When you say that a Nintendo console has a mouse, there's only one very important game that I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
Mario Paint.
I was gonna say Mickey Mouse Capades.
The only Nintendo game with a mouse that matters is Mario Paint.
Mm-hmm. Arguably the only Nintendo game that matters.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I mean, this is true.
Is arguable. However, I will say Mario Paint was kind of absorbed aesthetically into Mario Maker, which I can definitely see like a Mario Maker 3 going onto the Switch and like having a better interface that specifically uses mouse support. I feel like that would be really cool.
I mean, I'm just thinking about why trains rule, you know.
Yeah, I think they could take another pass at Mario Paint as like an early, not super in-depth, but is kind of like a tech demo for any sort of Joy-Con features, if indeed mouse controls are a major component of the functionality, right? Like, not something super big, but just something like an app level stuff where like you can draw in your screenshots. Or, you can make little animations just like Mario Paint, and make the music like the music player thing too. Like, I could definitely see them doing something not super large scale, but something like that. John, I would like to remind you that we have audiographic evidence of you very specifically complaining about the size of the Joy-Con. So I feel like you should be a little bit more solidly in the it's bigger now camp being a major positive.
Yes, well, that's the thing. It's like the way they showed that it was bigger. It's like someone took the Photoshop like corner markers on whatnot and just like moved it up a bit, like I don't know, like 3%. Like it doesn't look that much bigger, but it looks big enough to be like, oh, that's definitely a different console. So my thing is with the Joy-Cons is that they are tiny and my hands are big. Proportionally to my body. I can't play portably anymore because my hands cramp up. But make them look a bit bigger is different than actually making them bigger, because especially when the buttons still look like they're clicky, the joysticks still look like they may have stick drift. I don't know. It doesn't look...
How can you tell from looking, John?
Because it looks like they just gave them a paint job rather than actually improving
the joystick would still look the same.
Would it though? Would it though?
Would.
If they're so short,
the stuff under it.
Yeah, and there's like a little
drift is not on the exposed part of the control stick.
Why are you yelling at me?
Because you're saying things that don't make sense, John.
Well, if you would let me talk instead of speaking over me. That was what
started the problem.
Yeah, I'm just trying to prevent you from saying more wrong things. I'm doing you a service.
The world.
Well, the way the original Joy-Cons you can see like at the bottom of the stick, there's like a little flap right there. That's easy for you to mess around with. You can like flip it up and it's easy for dust and other little things to get in there. The way the Switch 2 had it, it looked like all they did was just give that area a paint job as opposed to another layer that is severely needed. But that is just a graphic in a teaser trailer that's meant to show off the look at the console and not the mechanics. So, for all I know, it could just be another layer, or they did something to improve it. Or they just left it, or they just left it the same
mechanism.
Or they just left it the same, so you would have to buy another $80 pair of Joy-Cons.
I got sent a pair of Joy-Cons on accident when I ordered something else. So I didn't have
something else could be anything. Like what? Like when you ordered a video game, or when you ordered meal prep.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Instead of tomato slices, it's just red Joy-Cons.
I'm trying to remember what it even was that I got, and then like I tried to return them, and they were like, "Okay, yeah, sure," and then they never sent me anything about it. So I was like, "I guess they're mine now." So yeah, I just got a free pair of Joy-Cons. I'm trying to remember what I even got because it was not like gaming related. It was just like I ordered something from Newegg and. Somehow I got someone else's
swimming in them.
order. Yeah.
Now that the Switch 2's coming out, They're just like,
Oh,
well,
no,
we don't
this-
need these anymore.
This was like 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Like, actually,
That's why they're so expensive, because
they keep
half
sending
of all
them.
orders go
Yeah.
to Jeddy.
Yeah.
It's like those shoes where they're like, if you buy these shoes, we'll
Oh, yeah.
send a pair of shoes to an impoverished community. Except if you buy Joy-Cons, we'll send a pair to Alex Jedraszczak.
Yeah. They're just piling up outside my house.
They should call them Jedcons.
Yeah. We'll have
And then
to.
you'll become a millionaire selling them on eBay.
How do you feel about the new way that it connects? Because lots of people have opinions about this, and we all have no idea what we're talking about. But
Yeah,
we
I've
all
seen
feel very strongly about it.
a lot of people saying that it looks easily breakable.
Mm.
I was originally inclined to agree with that, but the fact that they're magnetic as well, I think that would definitely help with the stability.
I guess my thing is, like, in normal usage, sure, but as a thing that children will likely be goofing with, it seems easily breakable.
My question is, do people really think that they didn't, like, test that?
Well, they always drop it from child height. They say that's one of their standard tests for handhelds, is you drop it from child height and it needs to not break.
And they still sold the original DS model after that. So I guess they didn't take it
Well,
into
they
consideration
changed
that
it
much.
after. They thought that extra lump in it would make it a little bit more protected.
With those
but
hinges?
I've also read that apparently the main way that the Switch 1 Joy-Cons connect in with the sliding is also a pretty big point of failure. Like, apparently, like, just whatever pieces hold that in can break pretty easily, and then you just can't even put it in. Whereas at least with the little thing, like, if you bend it, like, you can still kind of just, like, push it back into place, probably.
Yeah, my Switch definitely has detection issues when I slide the Joy-Cons on and off. Sometimes it'll be like, you didn't put one on. I'm like, yeah, I did. Can you not feel it?
It didn't
assuming
go.
it's a machine that has feelings.
So
It didn't go.
I guess
did not.
the big question is, right, like, recent Nintendo consoles have kind of, like, skipped every other generation, so are we going to get a Switch 3, the Switchery?
The Switch 2 is announced, and we're already talking about Switch 3 rumors and leaks.
Okay, but like,
Breach.
how long even did the Wii U last? Like 2 years or something?
No, it was
Yeah, but the Wii U was...
It was like
I
2012
think you
to
could call a
26,
Wii U
2013 to
an outlier.
2016, so 3 years.
Yeah, because I mean, like, everyone loved
No,
the
it was 2012.
Nintendo 64, and then the GameCube was kind of like, it was, it had some stuff, but then everyone loved the Wii, and then the Wii U is just like, forgotten, and then everyone loved the Switch. So this
is the pattern. This
Yeah,
is the pattern.
well, and-
Nintendo always, like, innovate, refine, innovate, refine, innovate, refine.
and
Like,
so
that's always the pattern.
Is it?
so
Yeah.
the
I feel
Switch.
like we talked about this in the last podcast.
So the Wii was the innovation, and the Wii U was the refinement.
Yeah.
The better
You can
version of the
refine
Wii.
and not do.
Some would
a
call
good
it the
job. It's the
rapturing,
Wii
but that's
U.
a-
Like, they called it the same thing.
Someone
It
call
wasn't
it
a successful refinement, but it was an attempt at a refinement.
I guess I just have my concerns, right? Like, part of me is excited about the Switch 2, and part of me is just like, should I just be saving up for the one after?
Well, if it's gonna be another, I mean, this 2017 to 2025. That's
8 years.
8 years. You're
It's
gonna wait
pretty
another
good.
8 years.
Well, no, okay, but like, if it goes, like, okay, so how long was the Wii around for, and then how long was the Wii U around for?
The Wii U was around for
The
3
Wii
years.
was about 6 years,
And the Wii,
So,
the Wii
okay.
lasted 6.
So,
and the Wii U was about 4.
so if we went from 6 to 8, then we'll go from 3 to 2, right?
What? What are you saying?
No, so the ones that do well are expanding, and the ones that do poorly are contracting, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, because why have a ghost
Right.
on the
Okay.
market?
But that's assuming that the Switch 2 will do poorly.
Yes.
Because the refinement doesn't always do worse. I mean, the SNES I don't think performed worse than the NES, did it?
It did,
Yeah,
actually.
Maybe that is then. Maybe it is a shorter.
It was still the highest selling console in the market, but like compared to the NES, it's like everyone had an NES, and then the hardcore people got a Super Nintendo.
And then I don't know about the GameCube definitely. The Nintendo 64 was a major contender, but yeah, and GameCube was kind of maybe.
Well,
that's the pattern.
The PS1 was a runaway success that generation.
Well, yeah, but I guess you're competing with like the Steam Deck now, and various other places are trying to compete with the morphology.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's probably going to drive the price into the. I mean, I feel like it's got to just be $400. It's about in line with how much. I made a chart once, because I am me, Joseph Martin, and like since I think around the SNES, maybe the Nintendo 64. Consoles have been roughly the same price with respect to inflation. And so like $400 is kind of just like the sweet spot of where that would be now.
Yeah, especially with today's inflation. If it wasn't inflated, it would still be like $299, something like that.
Right, and that's for the Switch and the 2 controllers that come with it. And like that's, like some of the cheapest versions of the Steam Deck. I think that's around the same price-ish. I looked this up. It's kind of, there's a lot more versions and modules for the modularity to the Steam Deck, so it's kind of hard to pin down a price in the same way. But, like, it's trying to be a cheap, right? The Steam Deck is trying to be in the middle of, like, between Switch and just, like, either a cheap PC or, like, fancy tablet gaming. And so, like, I feel like 400, I mean, like, I don't think, it's not going to be 350. And so it's got to be 400, maybe like 375, 425, but even still, I mean, 400 just seems like such a natural place to put the price point for everything.
So what would the Switch 3 be, right? Like, where can you go? Like, what would distinguish it, right? Because I don't know that they're going to go back to, like, an actual, like, console that only plugs into the TV and that's it, right? I feel like they've settled on their current format, their, like, portable console sort of deal.
The Switch 3D.
Yeah.
I legit thought...
But instead of switching between, like, TV and handheld console, it, like, switches between something and VR. That's the pitch. That's my pitch.
Yeah.
You get some kind of augmented reality thing, but you don't have to commit to it in the same way you have to commit to something like the Oculus or the Apple Vision Pro or whatever. Right? Because we're moving into, or like augmented reality.
Yeah.
Instead of just full VR, right? Something where like you put on these goggles and you hold your Nintendo Switch device, or you have it up on the TV, and like that is the effect. It's like 3D glasses, but fancier. There's my pitch. What do you think, Jeddy? Are you willing to invest?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I was thinking, is something along those lines of like, other than being like a more powerful Switch, right? I feel like the unique aspects of, what made the Wii interesting, right? The motion controls. And then they kind of continued with that with the Switch of like, I don't know, I guess not that many games really utilize the sort of motion aspects of the controllers. But Nintendo.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the controllers that didn't really get used much. Like I think there's an you can like
the
have an infrared camera.
Yeah. No.
That, like nobody used for anything.
Well, hey, you can't say that. Do you know the number of like $2 games that are just like, it's an alarm if somebody walks in front of the controller? then the Switch will let you know that they did that.
From like what, 5 feet away.
And like, well, sorry, I'm just thinking like, oh man, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of changing the topic here, but I've been scrolling through the games list and like on the Nintendo store, and the amount of like just AI garbage and like just like games that are like $1 or $2 and all it is like it's an alarm clock. You need to buy that for the Switch. You can't do that with anything else. You really want to run your battery down having your Switch as a clock. I don't know, just the amount of like questionably adult oriented games.
Yeah, that was surprising. I thought they would have been,
and they're just on there in the
more
list, like not
moderated
like
from
yeah
that.
hidden. I mean, maybe there's like a way to hide it if I had like a, I guess, well, you wouldn't really have a kids account that had Nintendo
Yeah, I think if
store.
you would just have you would have a, like, you just wouldn't be able to get on the shop, I think,
Yeah,
for a kid's account.
I don't know. It's weird, right? Like, I'm all for indie games, but there's a point of like we've kind of returned to the Xbox Live indie games sort of when anyone can publish any garbage that they make.
Oh, we've been there for a while. Have you seen the eShop?
Oh no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like I just look every once in a while at the Nintendo eShop, and like I usually just operate off of my wish list, right? That like I hear about a specific game, I search for it, I add it to my wish list, and then I buy it when it goes on 70% off.
Yeah.
But every once in a while I'm like waiting for my things to download or whatever, I will scroll the Nintendo eShop, and I will be universally disappointed in the games that are for sale.
Yeah, the main problem is like the recently released tab where and people taking
Yeah.
advantages of putting their crappy games on sale at all times, so it
Yeah.
always appears on the great deals tab. It's
Yeah.
easily manipulatable, and people take advantage of that, and that's all people will see on there. And
Oh man.
then kids are gonna be like, they won't know the difference. It's
Sorry, I'm
between
just
this
yeah.
this game with AI art on the thumbnail, and it's just a jigsaw puzzle that's
Yeah.
on sale for $1.
Yeah, it has cute kittens or something. Man, sorry, I was just thinking about what was it? It was like trading card game store simulator, and
Oh, I did see that.
yeah, it had like AI art, and I was like, this looks like the stupidest thing. And then you look at the actual screenshots from the game, and it is so bad. Like, it's just amazing that this is a game made. It looks like something from 20 years ago.
I feel like I saw a bunch of people playing it too, is the thing.
Is there a point where
I
like you
saw,
just like
I
hate
think there
play
were a few
something, like
different
you think
ones.
it's so bad?
maybe it's not the one that I'm thinking. Maybe it was a copycat of something that got popular.
Probably.
Oh, maybe.
That's entirely possible, because I feel like I saw some clips. I didn't actually watch any of the clips, but I got thumbnails. Because YouTube has just decided that it doesn't know what I want to see anymore, because I keep clicking never show me this channel again. It's just like, well, I'm not going to show you anything then.
Man, actually I wonder. So, people talk about like, oh yeah, AI is taking coding jobs, right? And like I've gone to ChatGPT just out of curiosity and seen like, you ask it stuff about code and it's like, yeah, it does some stuff. I don't know, like, but I would never trust it to do something complex. Like at my job, there's a lot of like legally binding stuff that like needs to be done accurately, within like the government has put laws in place, and I have to make sure that my code obeys all of those. I'm not sure that I would 100% trust without like to just go to ChatGPT, be like, oh yeah, do this huge system for me, please, and just copy and paste everything that it spits out. However, I do wonder now that we're talking about like, oh yeah, this game, it had like AI art. I'm sure that you could ask it to program you a Nintendo Switch game where you buy and sell trading cards.
You could probably get
who's
pretty
to say
far.
it's not doing that already?
I mean, like, for practical matters, it's like it's good for stuff that's like immediately verifiable.
Yeah.
Right? Like of a scope where like either you can look at it and see that it works, or like you can like sometimes it's like, hey, I want you to take all the text in this weird text file that I was given and make it so that when I open it up and run it through this Python script, that it's like formatted in like a dictionary in a certain way, or like spit something out that will be in this weird text format so then I can consume it in another thing somewhere else.
Or like, if you just want to say like, hey, can you make a website for my business or something like that? It's like, yeah, it can do that. I would trust these things. But I do imagine it could make, like, of the level of game that it was that I saw in the screenshots, I have a feeling AI could do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's...
Because it's garbage.
I'm guessing it's like, it's just a Unity, I'm guessing. Like, Unity or Unreal Engine or Godot, I don't know how
presumably.
much AI stuff is in. I feel like Unity probably has the most.
Yeah, I could imagine that.
Text consumed from the internet on it.
Yeah.
That would just spit out the code for you, basically. I don't know, though. Yeah, I mean, Steam has always been flooded, though, with, like asset flips used to be the big thing, right? Like, you buy a cheap asset pack, and then you put in the most basic thing where you walk around and an asset walks around, and, like, if it gets close to you, it does damage. And that's the video game. Right? Like, there's plenty of games like that. Or, like, there's how many drive a car around in a town in like a tiny city iPhone app games are there, right? Like there's a million of them. Like it's just a different form of the same thing, right? And the real grift is the people who sell or make, right? It's the people who make YouTube videos on how to do this that actually end up making all the money, because you can't make any money on it, because it's as soon as it's that easy to do, there's no reason for you to do it. Someone else, not only has someone else already done it, at least like 10 to 100 people have already done it.
Yeah.
And then at that point, no one needs it anymore.
It's like selling a book that says how I made $1 million, and then in the book it just says, you bought my book.
I really like the audiobook of that one.
Yeah. I'll have to buy it.
Yeah, I've got the extended commentary.
Yeah. Director's cut.
You bought this too. Yeah, we definitely cannot get all the way deep into the AI stuff. There's too much to talk about. Especially as two programmers, a visual media. I don't know if you still call it film. Do people use the actual film still? Not as like a snub to you, John, but I just mean like, it's just digital. It's not like bad.
Well, Joseph Martin.
Called film still.
Yes and no. So it depends on your director. Like Quentin Tarantino still shoots on film. Christopher Nolan exclusively shoots on film. It depends, like if they're an industry veteran who prefers that, or if someone. I know the TV show Euphoria shot on film, and if they're going for a certain
on
look.
Film.
No.
That's what I'm saying. So you're not in film. You're in moving visual media. Also something that they're trying to take over with AI.
Yeah, I don't know anyone I could be wrong. I don't know anyone who still edits with scissors and tape.
I mean, AI can't do that. So, like, maybe that's the skill you need to work on. Blue, I don't know if your job can be replaced by AI. I've not met a single person who is replaced by AI in person. There's a lot of people on LinkedIn, and a lot of people whose entire career path is, I got hired by a big company so that when they fired me for not doing my job, I could make a YouTube channel and be like, I used to work for this company and now I'm going to tell you how to pass coding interviews. That's a whole industry. But Blue, sorry, I interrupted myself asking you a question. Has your job been replaced by AI yet?
I don't think so.
Maybe you need to ask ChatGPT if your job's been replaced.
What if we...
Am I obsolete?
So I was going to make a joke that we could invite ChatGPT onto the podcast. But the actual reality of it is it's like exceedingly boring to actually like talk to.
It's so I tried to very early on. I was like, make an episode of the GameCola podcast, and it was so boring. The only thing that was interesting was that it kept starting sentences with the same like 3 words.
Yeah,
like,
I remember
like
that.
6 different sets of 3 words. But like to listen to that would not be interesting, right? It's only interesting because you can skim the first 3 words of all the paragraphs and be like, that's funny. But if you had to read all of the paragraph before you could get to the next set of funny 3 words being repeated, it would be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I have thought we do have transcripts, so we could make an AI model where we just shove all of the podcast transcripts in,
I think,
and see what it spits out.
I think
and maybe it would actually be somewhat entertaining.
Right, because I think part of the problem is, like, as much as we ask it for the GameCola podcast, it doesn't know the text of what we say. It knows about GameCola a little bit, and it knows what podcasts are. But then it just ends up like generically saying like, well, we are a podcast about video games. And that's about all that it does. So I do wonder like maybe it would be better if we actually trained one on transcripts of the podcast. Although I also saw the automated transcript that you posted recently. Man, yeah, just pit AI against itself, like just have the AI generated transcripts, flaws and all, and see what it imagines, right?
Yeah.
Actually, have you ever seen the movie, I believe it was, was it Colossus? Is that what it was called?
Colossal?
Colossus, Shadow of.
No.
It's a different thing.
I forgot that the...
Let's see if I can look up this movie without making my microphone blow a gasket. There's Colossal.
No, hold on.
That's not it. I saw that movie in theaters. That was good.
Yeah, okay. So Colossus the Forbin Project, a 1970 American science fiction thriller film.
US
Since everyone's talking about
nuclear defense systems of Colossus supercomputer designed by scientists.
Okay.
So war games, basically.
Well, okay, to an extent. The thing is that the whole big deal about it is that it has like this great AI and it like knows everything. But then at the end, there's a Russian Colossus that they have their own supercomputer, and that like the twist ending is that the computers like ask to be connected to each other, and then just like instead of having to communicate through people, right? Like, because originally they're kind of passing back and forth very slowly as like people take what they say and like transfer data and whatever, and they're like, no, connect us together. I don't remember the ending exactly. However, in recent news of AI, where they're saying that whatever it is stole the ChatGPT that was it China?
Yeah.
China did to ChatGPT or OpenAI or whatever what AI has been doing to everybody else, and they're complaining about it. But I would like to see the two AIs talk to each other Colossus style. And then hold on, let me just scroll down to the. Oh, hold on. Yeah. The voice of world control. Yeah, that. The computers basically just take over. I think it would be a good idea to have the two AIs talk to each other. But now the Red Scare is gone, and instead we are afraid of China. So I guess that's still the Red Scare, isn't it, technically?
Yeah, I mean, their flag is pretty red.
Yeah. And that's the key part of it, is the flag color.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing that they were concerned about.
Yeah. That's why
'Cause
we
there's
were
no
afraid
white
of
or
red.
blue.
Yeah.
There's no white or blue. Red's only okay if there's white and blue.
Yeah.
What?
Balance it out. You wouldn't understand.
Maybe Jenny.
What?
He doesn't have any blue.
Blue doesn't.
Wait, no, he is the blue. That's the thing.
That was a
That's
train
okay. That's
wreck.
why it's okay.
And
Blue,
the flag. The flag has the red and the white.
Blue,
Yeah.
I'm going to mean this in the most polite way possible. What are you made out of?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Okay.
I mean, he would. That's why he's asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he'll continue to want to know.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, the U.S. has the red, white, and blue. Canada has the red, white, and blue.
Yeah. Has red and white,
That's
and there's also blue.
Yeah. It works.
Yeah.
We're all good. It's all safe here.
When I die, the country crumbles.
France has the red, white, and blue. Oh
Mhm.
no! Doesn't Russia have the red, white, and blue?
Doesn't,
Well,
it
yeah,
doesn't have
because they're
blue.
not the Soviet Union anymore.
Doesn't it?
We can't get into vexology. Is it vexology? Vexiology? I don't know. The flag stuff. It's bad. It's terrible for an audio podcast.
Yeah, the flag of Russia, the Russian Federation, is white, blue, and red.
Right. I'm just saying we peaked with the Canadian flag plus blue joke, and I think we need to move on. Here is something that's sort of about video games, but is also about GameCola, because I feel like everybody keeps talking about moving back to websites. Do you guys hear
Yeah.
about this?
I mean, I want to. I mean, I think you're just listening to me and Paul talk.
That's true. So that's like the background radiation of the discussion, because that's been going on since I joined GameCola and probably from before as well. But people now are like, don't trust social media because you never know who's going to be in charge of it. Go to websites.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and everyone's like, here's how to build a website. I'm like, or you could just go to the website that already exists. GameCola.net. We never got rid of ours.
Yeah, that's true.
It's because we're smart.
That's where all of our podcasts are. You can't take us off the air. That's the safest, I mean, you might be listening to this on YouTube, and if you are, thank you, because we might get like 2 pennies for it. But if YouTube was ever like, we don't like the GameCola podcast anymore, you could still listen to it because it would be on the website. That's where all the audio files are hosted.
Yeah.
I know how to use an FTP explicitly for that purpose.
Yeah.
People will ask me, like, how do you upload your podcast? It's like, well, you need to know someone named Alex Jedraszczak. And then he'll set up this FTP thing. So when you post an audio file linked to the FTP file in your WordPress article,
Yeah.
it will show up in a podcast feed
Yeah.
when the article gets published. So you just need to do that, and then you can have a RSS feed.
I'm just thinking about how to make a strong bad costume.
That's going to be our big break. Hey, I'm in the top 10% almost of Blue Sky users when it comes to followers.
What?
I think, is it 10?
What?
Well, because 50%, you're in the top 50% if you have 1 follower.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I've heard things
Paul's
like
in
that.
like the top 1%
Wow.
of Blue Sky because he has like 400 followers.
Wow.
I'm saying the floor is really low if you want to
Yeah.
be famous on a new social media app. I'm still saying we need to get the GameCola at GameCola on Blue Sky just for the stunt of it, because we
Yeah.
can do that because we have a website.
I have been I can't say like, oh yeah, I've been more interested in it. Like, I have been interested in it. My interest has neither increased nor decreased, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a point where like I have to stop being lazy about it. And I think the fact that like so many game developers are leaving Twitter, that finally my feed has slowed to the point that I'm like, maybe I should get on Blue Sky.
It does seem like there's a lot of
Jeddy
them over
joining
there.
something new?
Yeah.
I don't actually like care that much about Blue Sky. There's some people who are real Blue Sky heads.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of those. But I will be self-serving, and if Jeddy moves to Blue Sky, he will follow me.
Yeah.
So that will increase my follower count by
1.
approximately,
Oh, percentage-wise?
yeah, probably like 2.5%, I
Wow.
think. Whatever 1 out of 40 is. No,
But
it's 1 out of 30,
here's
I think.
my question.
I think I'm remembering wrong.
Here's my question. What does Blue Sky have to do with the Nintendo Switch 2?
Oh, they talk about it on there.
Nintendo Switch 2 Sky.
But my point is, this is right. There's 2 categories of topic that we can talk about on the GameCola podcast. One is video games, and that's usually the one we talk about.
The other one is Nicktoons.
GameCola.net.
Oh.
No, that was the old version of the podcast. We don't talk about Nicktoons ever since I took over, which wasn't an intentional thing. People just stopped bringing it up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think it was mostly a Michael Gray thing, and and Paul, and me, us.
So
as a
the
group.
problem is that we watch different Nicktoons.
I have fond memories of Cat Dog.
Oh yeah, John, I don't think we've been on the podcast together since our grand meeting.
Yes, that's right. We met up in real life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
There's a picture of us in front of a GameStop.
Did you go to the Turkey Hill experience?
We saw a horrifying movie together. It was awesome.
Yeah, we did, in fact. I still need to find, I'm still waiting, right, to get a video of Count Orlok saying, yeet.
The Blu-ray's coming out soon, so I'm sure you will find it soon. You'll find it online soon enough. If not, I'll rip it myself because I'm buying that Blu-ray. I love that movie.
It was pretty good. I am always going to be distracted by him saying yeet.
Yeah, no, that was definitely the takeaway. And I am 1,000% certain we heard it wrong. But it's just the fact that we heard it at all was hilarious.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he was trying to say eat, but...
Yes.
I like to believe that he was saying yeet.
But yeah, we saw Nosferatu. It was very scary, very intense for PG words, phrasing. But yes, it was a very good movie. I
can't wait for the sequel, Nosferatu 3.
Yeah.
I made that joke a few times. Well,
we didn't do it on the podcast, so it doesn't count.
True. But I regret not seeing the prequel Nosferatu 1.
Or the double prequel Nosferatu.
No.
Yes, and that was the GameCola podcast where we talked about the Switch 2.
Well, we have to talk about video games we've been playing in recent times. Blue, did you play a video game?
I've been playing Marvel Rivals.
How's that been going? It's like live servicey, right? Like they add new stuff periodically, correct?
Yes, there's a new hero every month and a half, I believe.
Well, didn't they just...
Well, it's only been... Are we on the month and a half cycle with this podcast where that works out from the last time you were on the podcast?
Last month was the season 0. It was a short season just to get it started and launched.
Mm-hmm. Season aught.
So season 1 has started and they have added 2 new characters and they'll be adding 2 more soonish.
2 plus 2? That equals 4, right?
What's the over-under, which I've already explained what that means in the podcast before. What's the over-under that I know either of the 2 characters that were added?
Well, I just gave you a big hint.
I didn't hear what John said, so it doesn't count. I legitimately was too wrapped up in my own joke to hear what John said.
That's the GameCola podcast in a nutshell.
95.5?
Like 95, I do know both of them?
Yes, they're very famous.
Okay, what are they?
It's Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman from the Fantastic Four.
I do know those 2.
Yeah.
I was actually fairly familiar with them.
Now, Joe, going
I
by
don't
that...
think I've ever actually seen a full thing with the Fantastic Four. Like, I know of them, I've had them described to me many times by various media properties, but I've never like read a Fantastic Four comic or like watched an episode or seen a movie.
Well, in a few months, the new one will be out, and you can watch that.
Aren't they like always bad though?
Yeah, I was gonna say they haven't had the
ones
best
that
of
have-
luck in terms of quality. Like the show, like there's been a few shows where they've been like okay at best, and then the original Fox movies I honestly find very fun. They didn't get like massive
hot
critical
take.
praise or anything, but I find them very fun. They're charming, and they're kind of refreshing.
People like them a lot more than I ever have, so I don't. Your mileage may vary, but
The 2015 one is garbage.
Yeah,
That's
I haven't.
Fantastic,
It's
right?
Yes.
It is a movie I didn't even watch, and it was a superhero movie, and that meant a lot in 2015. That's how bad it was.
It was really boring.
So, how they had these two new characters, and how did that go? Did they feel like immediately overpowered, or did they feel balanced? Because sometimes it's like, oh, the new characters, so we'll introduce them overpowered, and then after the initial like fun part where everybody tries them out wears off, we nerf them to kind of balance them back into the game.
There's the competitive angle and the like casual playing angle. I think competitively Mr. Fantastic is widely regarded as really bad, at least right now. But the same thing happened to Wolverine for a couple weeks, and then he was like S tier, so people just have to figure him out, I think. But he feels really fun. They're doing a lot of interesting stuff with the kits, and it makes them fit less neatly into classes. So Mr. Fantastic is a lot beefier, and he's closer to a tank than the other DPS characters. And Invisible Woman can do a little bit of everything, and she's pretty good. So they're not, like, overpowered, but they are new. They're unique. They're interesting.
Any other interesting things happen with the update?
There's soccer now. It's
Football.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My arch enemy.
another sport for Spider-Man to cheat at.
He's not allowed to play, actually. Only Star-Lord and Iron Fist and Black Widow are allowed to play. Cause
So
Iron
the people
Fist and
with
Black
barely
Widow have
powers.
kick moves, and Star-Lord is there.
I like how it's the characters
he's just
that
a guy.
I like how it's the characters that barely have powers allowed in there.
play soccer.
I mean, Iron Fist has powers.
I mean, yeah.
Oh,
but
it is a different Iron Fist, so I don't know his powers as well, actually. Because he used to be Sword Master.
well, good for the people without power. Who else is it? They didn't let Hawkeye in there? He doesn't have powers.
No, he doesn't kick.
He doesn't know how.
Incapable of kicking.
He only knows how to shoot. He doesn't know how to kick.
Yeah, he always skips leg day, so he can...
You're lucky he knows how to walk.
I feel like the Flash should be able to kick.
Well, he's DC.
But he's DC.
So...
Yeah, I'm just saying he would probably be good at soccer. I'm not allowed to have opinions about other superheroes who would be good at soccer.
I mean, I bet he'd be good at pretty much every sport.
All right, let's get Spawn in here.
I mean, would he be good at darts?
Yeah.
But, like, better than the average person?
He could cheat.
I feel like...
Well, putting a superhero on
I don't
anything
wanna
is
get too deep
automatically
in
cheating.
the paint on this, but I feel like most of the time when he goes fast, like, you do see that he went fast. Like, it's not, like, invisible speed. Or, like, even if it did, like, there'd be wind.
No.
Like, stuff would move around.
Sure, but he can also go back in time.
I was gonna say, he
loses-
can literally time travel. That's how fast he
Yeah.
is.
So, like, there's different levels of cheating, and he's on all
But
of
usually
them.
that goes pretty bad for him.
Usually, yes.
Yeah,
I don't know if he'd want to risk that just to win at darts.
maybe not, but I don't know if he'd ever really want to win at darts normally either.
Well,
I don't know his life.
I mean, it's not like he
I mean,
can't.
everybody wants to win at darts.
I mean, it's not like he can't control his speed. He's not gonna just go back in time and like stop the enemy team from being born just to win at darts.
No, I'm just saying that like no matter how far back he goes, it always seems to end up poorly for him. Anytime he goes back in time, it's always
so
like,
why would
well, you shouldn't have gone back in time because everything's bad now, and if you hadn't gone back in time, it would have been fine.
So why would he? My point is, why would he willingly do that for a dart game? It's not.
That's my point.
Yeah,
John, you've switched sides when you realize you were wrong.
Hooray!
Joseph Martin,
the podcast with comic books.
All right, we gotta get back on track.
Test
Jeddy, what games have you been playing in recent times?
It may be a surprise for you to find out that I've been playing a game that I don't enjoy.
Oh my goodness, Jeddy, we've talked about this.
It's because you let other people
Jeddy,
play it first, that's why.
You have a problem. Like, it's concerning at this point.
I've been playing Digimon Cyber Sleuth. Because
that's your first problem. You played a Digimon game.
I'm a fan of Digimon, although I've never played the games, and it was
the
on
games are
deep
wildly different from each other, and so picking any one of them up blindly is like a roll of the dice.
Yeah. So the thing is like in the trailer or whatever, it looked mildly interesting. I was like, okay, I can play a Digimon game, and like. It is just so incredibly poorly balanced. And then I keep playing because I'm like, okay, I have to be like half an hour from the end. And then 2 hours later, they're like, okay, let's go back to town. And then you need to pick up some more just completely arbitrary missions before we can continue with the main plot. And I'm like, well, aren't we at the end?
Oh, no.
And then I play for like another 4 hours, and they're like, okay, you completed all those completely arbitrary missions, and you completed the next story segment. You should go back to town and do some more arbitrary missions. And I'm like, but the game is ending soon, right?
I'm surprised you're learning what an RPG is now.
I'm like...
It weirdly reminds me of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, though Pokemon Mystery Dungeon was a much better game. For me, it was more like, I want to play the game, please. And it's like, no, go do side missions for a little bit.
Yeah.
And eventually we'll let you keep playing the game.
Yeah. And like, oh man, like there's a lot of things that are really wrong with this game. Just in terms of like controls and like how they, like again, like the balance is terrible where you'll get through an entire like dungeon. This was a problem in the beginning of the game, is like, you'll get through a whole dungeon, everything will be like dead in one hit, and then you get to like, just out of nowhere, you're not really expecting like, I don't know, there's gonna be like just a really long cutscene and then a boss, right? That like you talk to some person, and then suddenly it turns out, oh, we're gonna have to fight, and for some reason, this thing just does like 800 damage in one hit and like insta-kills each of my characters. And it's like, well, why is it that everything else in this dungeon I can kill in one hit, but then the boss kills me in one hit? Maybe there should have been some sort of lead up or something, or like maybe had I known that this was coming up, I might have like, you know, brought out some stronger things instead of like something that I was trying to level up, because the whole like digivolving, like the gameplay involved in digivolving, it's like, oh yeah, I've been getting more powerful, and now I can I can like transform into something else that's more powerful than that. But then you start back at level 1. So like your monster that was level 50 now starts back at level 1. It's stronger, right? Like it's a stronger monster, and it will be stronger when it gets to level 50. But right now it's level 1. And now you're entering like a boss battle. You thought you were getting stronger, but actually in this moment, maybe it would have been better not to have done that.
Have you considered that Digimon are the champions?
Yeah, I have.
Have you considered that Digimon Garla Chumpkins? Which is what I thought the theme song said. I thought it was just some weird anime thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, Digimon Garla Trumpkins.
So
Interesting.
Like, I guess there are Garla Trumpkins in this TV show.
So
I don't know what those are, but I also don't really know what Digimon are, so.
it
They're
is
digital
funny.
monsters.
Well, I did catch that. If only I knew whether or not they were champions. Maybe I could be sold.
So I also got at the same time Digimon World, right? And it is funny that like Digimon Cyber Sleuth kind of has the appearance of being like a more mature Digimon game. Meanwhile, Digimon World looks more like the traditional like it's a fun adventure. We're a Pokemon knockoff. And I guess I am curious to finally get to it. But the thing is again, I keep telling myself like every single day, I'm going to get through this segment and the game's going to be over. And
maybe just like look at how long to beat or like how many chapters there are.
Yeah, like they said it took about 50 hours to like complete. And so the problem also is that, again, there's a lot of things that are just like wrong about this game, just like poorly done. You go into this like, oh, the Digilab, and nothing is labeled. There's just a whole bunch of stuff you're supposed to like click on that's in here. So I noticed the first couple of times I played, I was like, I haven't been playing for 82 hours. Why does it say that my playtime is 82 hours? And then it turns out that like, if you loaded up the game, even if you turn the Switch like into sleep mode, when you come back, it will like parse the time in between the last time that you played and be like, oh yeah, all your stuff in the Digilab, you have a farm that's in there where all the Digimon like hang out. And if they were in the farm, they've leveled up. And so it tracks all of that time. So I'm currently at like 600 something hours just because like I didn't play for like a couple of weeks, but it was still like the last game that I had played. So I have no idea how much I've actually played of this game. I'm sure that the Switch will tell me. But the game itself says that I've played for 600 hours.
So you're like max level, right?
No, because they get to max level and then you digivolve them. And then they're back at the beginning again.
It's not just that you play video games you don't like. It's that you play really long video games that you don't like.
And I'm unwilling to give up on them. There's some games that I have given up on, right? I stopped playing Front Mission, right?
Mm-hmm. I've been abandoning. I'm about to like just to segue a little bit because I'm feeling like I'm gonna abandon another one. I haven't finished a video game in a while. I keep getting because like there was Battle Network 4 that was just killing me. And now I'm playing Golden Sun, and I don't understand why people like this game so much.
Oh yeah, you're
It put
talking about
me
that.
on a boat.
I feel like
Man,
that
Jay,
happens.
have you played Golden Sun?
I played like the first 10 minutes of it, and I was like, oh man, this is some real like it's not on the PlayStation, but it's basically a PlayStation JRPG, and like I'm just not a fan of that like style of game.
What's funny is that those first 10 minutes are probably the most interesting part of the game.
Yeah.
I think I just like I can see through it, right? And I just know what's coming, and I'm like, yeah, I don't need to play this game.
Well, they take like the one character, or there's like one set of characters that has like an interesting dynamic, and then those characters just leave for the video game, and you don't get to see them have their fun, interesting dynamic anymore, and you just have generic like chosen one boy who's good at everything but doesn't know it because he was bullied, but he's actually secretly good at everything. And then, just girl.
Yeah.
She's the healer. She does the water magic. She's, the children love her, but she joins your party.
Children love girl.
Yeah. The little children love girl. And girl loves the little children. Like that's the one of the main personality traits about girl.
Yeah.
Aww. Storytelling.
There's a different girl who's much more interesting, but she's the one that you don't get to actually spend any time with. But they put me on a boat, and I think anytime you're in a turn-based RPG, and they put you on a boat,
Yeah.
and then while you're on the boat, things happen, it's going to be a bad time. And not like oh no, monsters are attacking, it's bad. It's like, no, it's just going to be bad. Like, it's not going to be fun. Because here's what you do. You start the boat bit. You start the boat bit.
Yeah.
You sail. This is the cycle, right? Because their whole thing is that, like, oh, if monsters attack, they might hurt one of the rowers, and you're going to have to get one of the passengers to row the boat, and you have to pick one of the passengers. So here's the cycle. You sail a bit. Some monsters come. The people who were supposed to protect the crew from the monsters are unsuccessful. You see a cutscene of the monsters fly in. They go down the stairs. They hurt one of the crew members. Your party walks in. Everyone's like, "Oh no! Why didn't you stop them?" And I'm like, "Because you didn't let me. The cutscene did not let me stand in the room." And then you have to go fight the monsters while everybody stares at them in abject horror. You fight the monsters is trivial. Then you have to go upstairs. You have to pick one of the people who complains about being the rower, and they bring them down, and then they row for a bit. You sail some more, and then the whole cycle repeats like 3 times until you have 4 rowers. And then you fight a boss that can... I have all the strongest armor, and I've not been like grinding, but I've not been stingy about the level ups, and I'm taking out all of the enemies in like 1 hit, or like 1 round. Maybe 2. And now there's this boss, and each attack has the ability to take half of a team member's health, and also he gets to attack 2 times. So you just kind of have to hope that he doesn't attack the same person twice in a row, because then you're just... And that, like, there's not like a revive spell, at least not one that I have access to. Maybe it's like, oh, well, the next level you get a revive spell, and that makes this all make sense. But as far as I know, I have 2 revive items, and that's it. And if you lose to the boss, it sends you all the way back to before the whole boat thing happens. So you have to go through all of that again. And I understand why they did it. It's so that if you lose to the boss, you can get off of the boat and go grind for levels. So they definitely expected you to lose to this boss. But that means there's this whole, like, I mean, I don't know how long it felt like at least 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Just with all the cutscene stuff, just to refight the boss.
Right, yeah.
And this dumb... It's like, sometimes it does take a while. Like, if you get sent back to the town, right, and you have to walk back, but you have to, like, fight the monsters, and it's interesting, and you, like, optimize your path to get back there, right? Like, you can get through the dungeon more easily because you know all the tricks, right? And so it's not exactly the same going back. But this is like, I did it perfectly the first time.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to do it perfectly again and maybe lose again.
Yeah.
And I can save right before the boss. But, like, if I find out, oh, I need to go and do something else, I'm still going to have to go through this whole process again.
Yeah.
And I just, like, at this point, I'm like, I don't want to play a video game.
Yeah.
It's not that interesting. Like, I'm not making interesting decisions
Joe,
in the video game either.
It sounds like you should try out Golden Sun 2.
It is available on Nintendo Switch Online. There's also this whole gin system, which I don't know. Maybe it definitely feels like it expects me to just implicitly understand how this works. It feels like a very complicated extension of jobs, which I never actually interacted with in any video game. I just know that it's like a thing you can do in like Final Fantasies and such. But it feels like it's an evolution of a system that I have not even experienced the first iteration of. And the game just sort of expects me to intuitively because it's like, oh, you've got because every single, like, there's a earth guy, there's a guy who's they're clearly designated, even if it's meant to not be so strict, but like, there's clearly an earth guy, a fire guy, a wind guy, and a water girl. And the Jinn also have those, and you can like mix them. But half of the combinations are just like, oh, you can't use any attacks anymore. You don't get any magic with this combination. It's like, well, it's not like, oh, if I put this person, I can give this guy a water attack. It's like, no, if you put the water guy on anybody but the water girl, they don't get any magic. Or they only get their most basic of their regular element magic. And there's some combinations where it'll be like, okay, now I'll give you like this special thing. And like, I'm not enjoying it.
It's fun, Joe. People
But
like
people
it.
really love this
Yeah.
game, right? Like, I feel like it has this, Golden Sun has this like,
I've definitely heard the name, right? Like people talk about it.
yeah. Yeah, like, why isn't this, maybe it's just that Golden Sun 2 is really, really good.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it's the sequels that people like.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's the video game I have been playing, and I may not play ever again.
Yeah.
Joe, go play a good video game. Go play Mega Man.
John, what would you
They haven't
call
made a new one.
a good video game that you've been playing in recent times?
Well, actually, I kind of don't. I want to talk about something else other than that, but I'll entertain this for a bit. I recently beat the Silent Hill 2 remake. That was fun. I really liked the world design. The graphics looked really, really good. And the atmosphere was great. The music was stellar, as always. And the story was super depressing, as one would expect. But yeah, I beat that. I've been playing
More
that
like
since.
Krylent Hill.
Oh, you did it.
I did it.
You did it. What else? Over the holiday, is this the first podcast I'm on? Yeah, it's January. Over the holidays, I beat Castlevania 3. That was a fun achievement in my video game repertoire. It was very hard.
Castlevania.
Is this the part of the podcast where I name games I've been playing and then Joe makes a pun?
Yeah.
It really doesn't work. This one really doesn't. Like, most of them don't work. This one really doesn't work.
Castlevania.
I guess you could have Castlevania. That's a little bit better for 2. Anyway, what else, John?
I'm also, and speaking of hard games, I'm also playing through Elden Ring, the 2021 Game of the Year winner. And it's amazing. It actually is amazing. Normally I'm just like, oh, Game of the Year, yeah, whatever. I'll just give it a try. And then my friends have been nonstop in trying to get me to play it, and I finally caved. I gave it a fresh start. I'm like, oh my god, it hooked me. The bosses are extraordinarily fun to figure out. I thought it would just be like kick you in the face, like levels of hard, like at every turn. And no, it's actually very fun. It's like you can tell they had a lot of fun with the world design and like putting things that'll like catch you off guard and like catch your eye, catch your interest. It's like Breath of the Wild levels of open world design where there's always something interesting going on. Yeah, no, I really like that. But the thing I really wanted to talk about, this was a little gag I put in the GameCola Discord, but since I'm a big movie nerd, I have an account on letterboxd.com where you can make lists of like what kinds of movies based on themes. Some people make funny lists and whatnot. I decided to make a list of movies that share the exact titles with video games. And there was a lot more than I thought there were going to be. And it ended up being a list of 80 movies long, and some of them are really funny. Like, there's stuff like, there's a movie from 1959 called The Oregon Trail. It's just a little action.
That
action
one's not
movie.
quite as surprising,
Yeah.
because like the Oregon Trail has existed as a concept
exactly
since Oregon.
It's like stuff like
has existed as a concept.
Yeah, it's stuff like that like made me want to like start like a list like this. There's like stuff like that. There's a movie from the 70s called Grand Theft Auto. Take a guess what it is. And then you get like really obscure to like foreign movies. There's like a foreign movie called Halo, which is about a story of a little girl who is searching for a lost puppy in the streets of Bombay. It's like
there was Portal.
Yeah, there is a Portal short film called Portal. Where is it? Hang on.
Well, they also had was it Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior?
It was Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
One word, but stylized as two, which is weird. I guess that was kind of a caveat, but then there's also stuff like there's a PBS documentary called Medal of Honor. And then there's a very famous, this one's more famous as a movie, but there's a famous like Ingmar Bergman movie called Persona. I thought that was cute.
I feel like it's more impressive when it's more words.
Yes, it
Right?
really
Like-
is. Like one word, it's like Rampage or Quake. It's like Quake is a friggin' disaster movie about an earthquake. It's like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What's the one that has the most words in it on your list?
Let's look. I think Grand Theft Auto actually. Let's
3?
No.
No, surely there's one with like a "the" in there at least.
Duck Hunt was kind of funny. It was fun to find. It's just a short film about it's just a cartoon rabbit hunting a duck. It's weird. It's funny. No, I think Grand Theft Auto is it. 3 words.
So this is a challenge you need to find, or if you are listening and you have an idea of, you probably don't know a video game named movie that isn't actually about a video game.
Oh, wait, I found 4.
That meets this criteria.
I found.
Oh, was it?
I found 4. It is a 2011 movie from China called The King of Fighters.
If you have any good ideas for, or if you know of any, or you can find any movies that share titles with video games, and they are more than 4 words especially, you should
come on to our
first
actual internet website
yeah.
and comment on
Go to-
the article for this podcast.
Yes. And you could also go onto the website GameCola.net, and if you go on like the upper right, assuming it's not like 10 years in the future and we haven't redesigned the site,
Yeah.
there should be a little Discord icon, and you can click and you can end up on the Discord where you can see and you can tell John in person, because that's what Discord is, in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
A blue
About
skidoo
a
out of your
funny
laptop.
movie. If those particular methods of engaging with GameCola content are not to your liking, you can also find us on the YouTube channel GCDotNet, the letter G, the letter C, the word dot, the word net. We've got some playthroughs kicking back up. I think if you're listening in time with the podcast, there's been a little bit of a season gap over the holidays and the Januaries. But stuff should be kicking back into gear by the time you listen to this.
Yeah. Season
We
premiere.
had a special
is gonna-
midnight release of the latest Resident Evil,
And a
right?
Special event.
And I think you might know a particular sequel series. I should just say it. I shouldn't tease it so that people do pay attention to it. It's Dragon Warrior 2.
Yeah. It's a
Is-
much better game.
I don't know when exactly. They've recorded a bunch of episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Jeddy, you know how many episodes. You're on it.
Yeah.
How many episodes have you recorded?
9 so far.
Yeah, so it's soon. I think James is building up a backlog, and we have to decide what the thumbnail should be. Because it's not as easy as Dragon Warrior 1 was just super conducive to thumbnails. They just were all good. It was just really easy to make an interesting thumbnail. We have to do a little more work on this one. But yeah, definitely look forward to that. You got all your favorite fans and maybe some new friends showing up. Jeddy, you need to sell this. You're the person on the thing.
No, sorry. Like the thing is, we were supposed to record with our special guest. It would have been, episodes 10, 11, 12 on Wednesday, and it did not happen. So,
but it will happen in the future at some point.
yes, we're going to have special guests. So last time, if you got bored of listening to us, James, me, and Nathaniel, well, now we're going to mix it up more. We're going to have guests. It could be people on this podcast right now who will be guests. So if you like listening to Joe the Joseph Martin, or John Rizzi Man Rizzi, or Blu Ryder.
Yeah, that's me.
How do you feel about Blue Cerulean Rider?
That's
too blue.
Down.
Hmm?
That's just synonym. That doesn't.
Yeah, I feel like you got to mix it up. You got to have the blue green rider, right? Like get some variety in there, or something entirely different, like blue mecha rider, right?
Or is there
mecha blue rider?
Is there something that exactly splits the difference, so it's like a gradient? What's exactly in between the concept of blue and rider? Like, what is that
Midnight.
middling concept?
Hmm.
Blue Midnight Rider?
Yeah.
Is there such a thing as a Blue Midnight?
I don't know.
Sure.
Is that a thing people say?
It sounds
That's a
better
good-
than
that's a
Blue
good
Cheese
point,
Rider.
though. Well, there's not the cheese. Is there a cheese rider? No. What if this whole time, we think about rider as in riding a bicycle, but what if it was like blue WRITER?
Blue Rider.
What if we've been
Oh.
pulling the wool over our eyes this whole time?
Uh-huh.
Hmm?
Uh-huh.
Blue left rider.
No? I don't think so.
If you have an idea for what Blue's middle name should be, comment on the podcast article, comment on the YouTube, comment on the Discord. Find me on Blue Sky. I'm Joseph Martin on Blue Sky. Tell me, and I will tell Blue, because Blue's not on Blue Sky. Ironically, it's a conflict of interest.
Yeah, don't you own it, Blue? Don't you own Blue Sky, Blue?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Oh, Blue Sky Rider.
Correct.
Blue Skyder.
Blue Skrider.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the GameCola podcast. Have a wonderful time of day, wherever it is, whenever it is you are listening to this podcast, and we will see you next month. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I did spend about 5 minutes on the Nintendo shop, and in that 5 minutes I found like 4 different games that were that TCG game. So I assume there is a good one. It's just yeah.